This is Ryan Elliott for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined by Chris Eubank Jr. down here in Wembley today. First of all, how are you, Chris?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
That's good to hear. Now, let's come on down to it. LB are out, Muratovin. We had the press conference today. I saw you guys had a few words on Sky Sports as well. He seemed pretty reluctant to make any predictions or say he was even able to knock you out. Do you take anything from that today?
Yeah, he's one of them guys. He doesn't want to give anything away. Obviously, his English is not great, which is not great for social, for the media. But he didn't want to say his game plan or what he's going to do. Some guys don't talk. That's just boxing. Not everyone has the ability to express themselves like I do, I guess.
Let's talk about the change, and it was meant to be Sven Elby who tested positive for COVID. We've had the change. Muratov comes in. I'm sure it was a bit annoying for the guys behind the scenes to sort. For you, though, Muratov's got a higher world ranking. Just business as usual. I'm guessing you're not too bothered?
He's a better fighter. A better record, and he was already in training for a fight. So, if anything, it's got me fired up more. Obviously it's a frustration because you train for on a particular style of opponent, and then a few days later you have to completely switch it up, which is not ideal. But this boxing, you have to adapt. You have to roll with the punches. No pun intended.
I'm sure yourself and Roy have had a little look at some tape since the change was announced and he was put forward to you. What does he do well? What can we expect on Saturday?
I'm not going to lie, I haven't actually even really watched a lot of him. I've seen a couple minutes. I'm going to go back today and do the proper research, check him out. But 25 wins, he knows what he's doing. So, we'll be ready.
Chris, you're one of the star names of this new Sky lineup. All eyes on you on Saturday night. You've been calling out for a big fight. How important is it in your mind that you not only win but impress and look good as well?
Listen, I'm the face of Sky Sports Boxing now, so that is a whole new added layer of pressure. I have to perform because they've created a big bubble. A flat performance bursts that bubble, and it looks bad, and it makes these big fights that I want impossible to make. So, it's all guns blazing on Saturday night, 100%.
Chris, a lot of the belts at 160 and 168 are tied up at the minute. A lot of champions have fights. We've got Canelo Plant at 168. Looks like we're going to have Golovkin Murata. Demetrius Andrade's got a fight. Are big names and big fights more important to you than belts at this stage of your career?
They come hand in hand. Obviously, you want both, but if you can't get both, it's one or the other. There are big names out there that I can fight in December that don't have belts, but that the public still want to see, and that would still sell tickets. That would still be very interesting to the boxing world. So if we can't get a world title, then we'll go down that route. But 100% within the next 6 to 12 months, I'll be fighting for a world title.
You mentioned there it might be a fairly quick turnaround to be victorious on Saturday night. Who do you think is most likely to be next, and who would you want most to be next?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the landscape, and I'm not really actually thinking so far ahead. I'm concentrating on this fight. But I've said it time and time again, GGG is the name I want. He's at the top of the list. Like you said, he's tied up at the moment, so we may have to go a different route, but we will get him within the next 12 months.
Now, down here with yourself, obviously your trainer Roy Jones Jr. has been floating around as well. He was there last week on AJ Fight Week. In your time working with Roy so far, an absolute legend of the game, what do you think is the main thing that he's instilled in you or changed in you so far?
Mindset. I've always said that boxing is, 70% mental. And people who have never fought before probably could not wrap their minds around that. They think it's all about power and speed and being angry, and it's all about the mind. It's all about how you think about what you're doing. And that's one thing Roy has really instilled in me over the last year and a half is thinking about everything you're doing, the strategy, the reason behind why you're moving a certain way or throwing a punch with a certain technique, how you approach a fight, how you approach your training, everything. He details everything, and that's been a big change you know, in the way that I box, in the way that I train. Because before it was kind of, you know, I was an autopilot. It was just instinct, and I was just doing what I'd always done. Now there's a reason behind everything. So, yeah, Roy is the master.
Chris, I was at Tottenham on Saturday, brilliant atmosphere. You swapped the gloves for the microphone. I want to ask you about that firstly. How do you find doing that kind of media work? Do you enjoy it?
I had fun. I don't enjoy it as much as I enjoy getting in the ring, but, you know, it was a good experience. I've done it a couple of times, but I think that was probably the biggest one I ever did so far. And I don't know, we had pretty good feedback. So who knows, maybe that'll become more of a regular thing for me moving forward.
Just to ask you about the fight itself, Chris, obviously a very disappointing night for Anthony Joshua. A brilliant performance by Alexander-Usyk to claim the unified heavyweight crown. You were there. What did you make of the fight? What are your reflections from it?
Very surprised. I'm not going to lie. I didn't see the fight going that way at all. But I also didn't see that Anthony would box the way he did. He just didn't have the game plan for Usyk. He chose to try and outbox the boxer. I don't feel like he used the strengths, his strength and his advantages to win the fight. You know, he didn't really use his size and his power. He needed to. I felt like he should have, you know, he should have thrown more punches. He should have used his strength to kind of bully him and to shut him down, not let him dance around the ring and pot shot. But you know, it's all easy to say that, you know, after the fight or whatever. You know, the only one that can actually do it is the man in the ring. And that's one thing I do believe, is that he can do it and that he will do it in the rematch. He will adapt just like he did with Ruiz. And, you know, I'm very excited to see that.
Someone I wanted to ask you about, Chris, is Campbell Hatton. We saw him very fortunate to get that decision against Sonny Martinez. But when you carry that family name, when you first come into boxing, you don't have the biggest amateur background. You've been there. How hard is it at first when you've got that target on your back and you don't have the experience yet? And what advice would you have to Campbell Hatton at this stage in his career?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, that was a tough fight for him. A lot of people said he shouldn't have got the decision. You know, he needs to serve his time. I served my time. I didn't have a lot. I only had 26 amateur fights, but I served my time in Las Vegas. Top-ranked gym, Floyd Mayweather's gym, all the gyms around Vegas. I would go and I would spar pros, amateurs. So I, you know, even though I had 26 official amateur fights, I really had 100, 200, 300, because I was sparring each and every day. I don't think Campbell has gone through that. He's being really fast-tracked and he's too green. He shouldn't be on the big stages that he's been on so quickly. You know, he needs to serve his apprenticeship, which is why I said that night that, you know, take him to Mexico, take him to America. If you know, take him to somewhere where the name isn't going to be such an obstacle and an issue, where he can just fly under the radar, serve his time, and do what he needs to do to become a better fighter. Then you can come back to England and be on these big shows.
Just a couple more before I let you go, Chris. Caleb Plant and Canelo Alvarez. We saw the press conference. We saw the punches thrown. In terms of the fight itself, how do you see it playing out?
Yeah, I think that's a fight that Canelo can win and will win. He's the smaller man, but he finds a way. These guys, you know, they seem to run and try and just survive. Will Caleb Plant do that? I don't know. Yeah, that's usually what he does. He's a boxer. He's a boxer puncher, but he doesn't go to war. So I see Canelo coming away with the victory on that one.
And final one from me, Chris, a name that's never too far away from yourself. Billy Joe Saunders says if he's going to fight again, it'll probably only be for yourself. We've seen his demands. Do you think that's a realistic fight at all going into next year?
Absolutely. It's always a realistic fight. It's just whether we can come to an agreement on the terms. I'm sure the fight will happen within the next 12 months.
Chris, thank you as always. Speaking of Boxing Social, best of luck.